Great to see you guys. Might as well start off with Tolemykus's quote. It was neat, Tolemykus, when I started reading it, I was actually thinking you were quoting Ludendorff when he was like super anti-British or whatever. But anyways, I don't care for the English, Scotch, French, Australians, or Belgians, but damn you Canadians, you take no prisoners and you kill our wounded. German Colonel POW. Whoa. That's pretty interesting to see. Anyways, great to see you guys. Charles Latora, I'm going to pop in a couple of your little things here because actually you as well, William Arends. I know that Zoe Dufour was saying, don't worry about it, Nangoya. You can, people can read it in the comments and whatnot. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, hope you guys are doing great. Awesome to see you as per usual. William Arends, Harro, Bosma. And I'm going to pop this in as well because William Arends mentioned that you guys were saying that you got Habsburg. Well, we're going to go and take a look at it. William Arends, your pictures there of Habsburg eclipse and Ottoman sunset. And Charles Latora was saying that he's got both of them there. So anyways, here we go. I'm going to pop in. We'll start off right away with the narrative. And give us a copy, Ashley. Great to see you. I hope you're doing well. And like I said, it was great to. I'm so glad I actually got to watch the little bit there of that game. Well, I can't remember the name of it. We'll go down and take a look at it later because, well, two reasons. No, one. Oh, the main. Well, obviously, one. It was a cool looking game. I also want to support you people. Is the second thing is when I saw the little stands on the miniatures things to record. We'll take a look a tiny little bit or whatever. I went, oh my God, that's something that I was. I'm always trying to look outside the box about how to do things, about how to represent information on your game for your game and that type of thing. So I thought that was really neat. Great to see you, Meandering Mike. Hope you're doing well. Anyways, let's go off to the add this one to the stage. There we go. 75 days to Can Games. As far as I know, I better start moving my butt though to actually make sure that I have to register. I was wondering, Meandering Mike, what you're doing there with that everything here. But anyways, we'll see how we go. Welcome everyone as per usual. Please let me know what you've been up to this past week. Live stream fact checker and interesting tidbits. Obviously, the big monster in the room for sure is that the Zimmerman telegram today was finally released to the public. Everybody and their dogs freaking out. I'll be honest with you. There's even some reports that it was so shocking that some people did not believe that the Zimmerman telegram was real. They were like, that's impossible. The Germans would never do something so crazy as that. And it's like, no, they actually did. So I would like to go take a look at the wiki article, especially the date on the telegram, just due to the fact, well, maybe we're not going to, but it's just the fact that how long, remember, it was the 19th of January, for goodness sakes, that Zimmerman sent off that telegram to von Eckert off in North America. The British member had caught, he was saying, that was that sound, must have been the Ottoman Sons, Berlin to Baghdad Express book. Doesn't want to be sitting there, but that's also been mentioned this week in the news. But anyways, so he had to send that over a coded message or whatever, but still using British telegram wire or whatever. And the British had managed to crack the code. They didn't want the Germans to know. They were waiting for a long period of time. Massive. It's a really cool story. But anyways, they waited. I don't know if they staged the break-in to the the Mexican embassy or whatever, or they did something anyways to plant the material there that they could say, oh, by the way, that's where we found out about the Zimmerman telegram kind of thing. Yeah, they couldn't release. You get the idea. Anyways, humble pie. We're going to look at this right away if I can go and find the picture. I don't know if you guys remember this, and yet again, it's just a beautiful one thing monstrously. I'm going to tell you right off the bat when it comes to my Great War exploration is I make sure that if I'm ever in wrong or what have you, I want to be put in my place right off the bat. I want to learn, and I don't want to also put out fake information or whatever or wrong information. This is my passion, and I want to do this properly. It's so I've got complete humility that way, in the sense it's like, you know, if I've made a mistake, I've made a mistake, but I made a monster mistake. And it's amazing to think that back in the day, I was so big, so full of my britches, in the sense of thinking that I was better than Prit Buttar, or I found a mistake in his book. And I'm like, my God, this person's probably got a PhD, for God's sakes. He's got multiple books. I don't even have my 3rd-year anniversary for my YouTube channel here. And I think I know more than Prit Buttar. But anyways, it was way back when. We're going to go take a look at it super quick here. I just got to go and find the picture. So I remember this over and over again, and I've been talking about this with people, like, oh, thinking I knew where the first time the use of, maybe I still do, but the first use of poison gas was the attack of the Battle of Bolimov in late January 1915 near Warsaw. But anyways, let's hold on here. I'm going to present the screen. I was like, oh my gosh, you silly little goose. So here we go, and I'm going to get rid of me so we can see it full on, and then I'll put on I'll make sure that it's width. So anyways, way back when, and then I was starting to look, I was going to do an article there for the attack of Bolimov for the World War I Historical Association, you know, to start getting my, start little baby steps into that type of stuff. But anyways, when I was looking into the second book for Prit Buttar there, of his trilogy on the Eastern Front. Then he starts mentioning, you know, here it is, the village of Bolimov, and then he's also here is likely that the first use of chemical weapons in the war was as early as August 1914. I was like, yep, you're right. Lots of people use that, but they always think that's the first use of poison gas or what have you. And it's like, no, that's not the case. Then he mentions this over here. And that's where I was like, you're wrong, Mr. Prit Buttar. October 1914 against British troops near Neuve Chapelle. And we'll stop it because I'm going to, and then I'll go back to the present the screen so you guys can look at some other stuff here. If I can find it. There we go. And I'll get rid of the picture because we don't need the picture anymore. And I'll get back to me a little bit. There we go. So anyways, and I was like, wait a minute. The Battle of Neuve Chapelle happened in February or March or whatever of 1915. What the heck's he talking about? And so on and so forth. No, there really was a battle of, there was another Battle of Neuve Chapelle in October 1914. Not too many people know about it. The only reason why I found out about it was because I was looking on, going to find on a side battle, actually, on the Battle of Luss, trying to find out if I could use part of it to incorporate a one-page map for a 200-meter, it doesn't matter, anyways, for soldiers, and I was looking at Hill 70. Then I find out that Hill 70, most of the information about Hill 70 is actually for another battle around Luss, the Battle of Lens, August 1917, involving the Canadians, oddly enough. But so, and anyways, that I went on to another forum and then found out about the Battle of Neuve Chapelle in October, and I went, oh my gosh, have I ever got some humble pie to eat? So I wanted to let you guys know. There we go. So that's that. And let me go back to the thing because I don't have the thing in the jig. So please let me know if my internet thing starts to act a bit odd because I've got lots of windows open today. William Arends, you provided a fair amount of information for me. Thank you so much. And I've got some other stuff set up, so hopefully it's not going to get too much. And away we go. Like I said, I don't know if we're going to get there, but I did put it in the sources and links. It's because I was starting to look at trying to make some T-shirts and whatnot for, like, you know, 4.0 sequence of play and that type of stuff you always seem to see with SPI games. I was thinking, oh, I just wanted to do neato things like that. Anyways, if you go on to BGG, there's actually somebody who's found which fonts SPI was using, which I thought was kind of neat. I would also like to go and take a look at the sinking of the RMS Laconia, and I also noticed that William Arends, the very last article you did for the ATA, is about the RMS Laconia. And remember, that's where I thought it was 4 actually earlier in the week. It was only I think two American women drowned on that ship. This is, remember, post unrestricted submarine warfare. Wilson saying that we're waiting. I'm waiting for the an overt action by the Germans. Great to see you, Kilroy was here. Hope you're doing well. And now everybody and their dog is saying, "Here's your overt action." President Wilson, get to it. Declare war on the Germans, for goodness sakes. But anyways, I did want to. It was interesting to find out about this ship due to the fact that it's got quite an interesting little history. It was all part of like a transport ship in Gallipoli and whatnot, but it's there. I've got it there. This was a talk I saw earlier this week, which is going to end up being leading into one of the engagement questions of the week. It's a bit long of the description here for the lecture, but when this lecture pops up, I don't know when it's going to pop up on YouTube. I hope to God it pops up on YouTube, because it was from a local chapter, so I'm not really sure if it was, but it was recorded. It was, we can find out, well, the speaker was Andrew Lambert. Holy smokes, does this person know what he's talking about? I was just, and it's just, he has such authority. When he was talking in the lecture, I was just like listening, like, okay, you really know what you're talking about. He was like, just gonna, in the long and short of it, he was, he's very anti-Churchill, I can tell you that much. And he was also like, he really believes that the British really screwed up early on in the Great War. He thinks for sure they could have, they had all the, they had it there. They could have ended. What did he say? The British won the war early, rather quickly. Unfortunately, it took them 4 and a bit years to conquer the war on the continent. I was like, whoa! Just, it was like he says they already won the war, navally speaking, due to the fact of the blockade. They just had to do the. I was just like, wow. But anyways, here we go. This was the talk that he did. The British War, Way of War, 1918, shaping strategies for an age of transition. Sorry, I'm gonna, because it was a darn good lecture. It was a monster eye opener for me. At the turn of the 20th century, Britain, as a global maritime empire shaped by trade and shipping, faced a new challenge in Europe as Imperial Germany launched a world power policy and a high seas fleet. I've got to look this guy's book. He's got to have literature. This, not just the Lambert guy, the guy that he talks about later on in a bit here. We're going to see him. Oh my gosh, I've got to find out more about him. Of what he's written, and a high seas fleet that would oblige the Royal Navy to concentrate much of its power in the North Sea. In 1904, Britain and France settled their colonial differences to meet that challenge. The dramatic collapse of Russian power in the brief war with Japan, 1904-1905, left France exposed to German pressures, initially over Morocco, which exposed the German threat. British statesmen and strategists struggled to shift the focus of their thinking from imperial conflicts. Like this guy here was the one that started, you better start getting your, moving your butt, making big ass dreadnoughts and that type of stuff. Outside Europe to a major war in Europe, and the Liberal government of 1907 to 1914 was focused on domestic issues, including Irish home rule and social reform. There he is, Sir Julian Corbett. The lecture will focus on the role of strategic thinker Sir Julian Corbett, who developed a maritime strategy to meet the new circumstances, which shaped the creation of the BEF. And it is a monster lecture. That's all I got to say. Please let me know what, and we're going to, as I said, Gamers of Coffee, actually, I wanted to mention the Aces, that's the name of the game, the Aces in Armor, that you guys had done. Thank you for doing that, and I know that you guys are going to be doing some more of it. Yes, yet again, I love those things of the double-sided maps for having different seasons, the same geographical area, but you can have different things. And also neat that it's also kind of area and hex at the same time. Like I said, I love the idea of that. They were thinking outside the box about starting to use like the third dimension to start representing things like damage and whatnot and hits to the end. I just, well done, well done. Anyways, here's your 2 engagement questions for the week. I know we're about to get 13 minutes in. I haven't got to the trivia stuff yet. What would have happened to Germany's U-boat campaign if they had not been able to capture the Belgian port cities of Ostende and Zeebrugge? You're very welcome, Ashley. This was Mr. Lambert's main thing here. He was saying, my God, if they had why in the world did they let the Germans get to that? The British should have stopped that in the bud. He also thinks about something about they could have easily gone around Denmark or whatever and cut off the Germans from there, and it would have stopped the war real quick. But anyways, this is oh my gosh, like I said, this is from the articles I've been looking at. I knew this was coming up, and I found it this morning. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. So did the rising cost of paper, I don't know, you guys have probably been noticing this. Oh yeah, I remember, on a side note, please remember, Meandering Mike, if you can start throwing in some more of those and other people as well. If you guys want to be called something, like I said, the trench team or what have you, please let me, because we're getting close to the 3rd year anniversary for the show or my channel, and I would like to be very community focused that way. Wardrobe Plays World War II. Great to see you, as well as it's ironic that you're here, Wardrobe Plays World War II, because I've got your book here, Dear Mabel, and it's going to be another thing that I'm going to start doing as part of the community contribution thing. I want to start putting that back out. So it's going to be maybe not every week, but I would certainly like to do a little reading of it every once in a while. But anyways, I've been seeing articles like this left, right, and center, week in, week out. Of course, we know because all the wood has to be going towards making things such as dugouts and whatnot, and all the duck board and everything else. They're not. So, as you know, newsprint, the pulp for newsprint paper has been skyrocketing. Anyways, and I started thinking to myself, wait a minute here. Did the rising costs of paper for newsprint and the struggles of many newspaper publishers to make a profit allow other interests to buy up these newspapers and thus consolidate their control of what would be printed? So I was curious about that, and I was like, let's see if we can start seeing if there's anything, if there's anybody out there who's starting to gobble up all the newspaper, the little ones, and we're starting to see what's happening later on, where they're going to start making, they'll have more influence of what's going on. Ironically, and we're going to see it here in a little bit. Anyways, I took a look this morning, and good. Thank you, Wardrobe Plays Worldwide. I think it's a great idea. Like I said, it's just awesome stuff that we're just this beautiful little feedback cycle. Anyways, so I went and took a look to see how many times newsprint paper or whatever was mentioned in the articles for February of 1917. It was mentioned, and I just went quickly. So it could have been mentioned more times. 18 times it was mentioned about the struggles of newspaper print or the rising costs or trying to keep it. Then I find this morning a J.P. Morgan article. I was like, oh, thank you very much. There's also an upcoming talk from the National World War I Museum and Memorial on propaganda, censorship, control of free speech and whatnot of the United States government and whatnot over history. It's coming up very, very, very soon. Okay, thank you. Please, and you guys, this is what I'm trying to say is, remember, my original one was the Great War Gang, but let's get going here. This is you guys. I would love to, do something. So keep it up, please. You guys can just go nuts here. So let's go and take a look at this J.P. Morgan article very quickly. It's not very big, but I really wanted you guys to see it. Hold on. Stop the screen. My God, 17 minutes in. I swear to God, we will get to your stuff, William Arends. I may have to cherry pick a little bit of your whatevers. Oh my God. And on a side note, remember last week I was saying that I couldn't find the Tid-Bits video, and we went to the YouTube thing and I was scrolling right through the playlist. It was right in front of my face when I rewatched the live stream later on. I was like, oh my God. Tolemykus is kind of like being called a wonk, whatever that is. Awesome, man. Maybe it is some kind of Great War slang thing. You never know. There were so many wonky ones. There you go. So anyways, hold on here. I'm going to present the screen. Pop it in. There we go. The trench bench. Ooh, I like that. Velcrete dugout. Oh my God, Meandering. I'm so glad you also mentioned dugout again. I haven't done the video. Well, I did a video. I didn't like the audio that came out of it, but I found a beautiful little article on someone talking about dugout life. I thought, anyways, it's going to be posted later. But anyways, here we go. It says Morgan interests buy control of papers. Washington, February 13th. A demand for an investigation of charges printed in the Congressional Record by Representative Oscar Callaway of Texas in pacifist Democrat, alleging that and you can see that starting up already, all this ramping up bit of because they really want the Americans to go to war. The J.P. Morgan interests, the steel, shipbuilding, and powder interests had purchased the control of 25 great newspapers to further the preparedness campaign was made in the House today by Representative J. Hampton Moore, a Pennsylvania Republican. And there we go. Wonk, a person who takes an enthusiastic. Oh my God, that is fantastic. I love it. Oh, come on, guys. We got, for goodness sakes, let's vote on that one. That's awesome. I love it. Let's go to here. Isn't that a good one? It is, isn't it? It's great. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this, and then we're going to go back to the things because I think we're actually almost. Hey, we're at the trivia things. I was kind of getting a little worried there. Okay, so we're gonna boink, and there we go. And like I said, this I also talked about, well, based on your guys' suggestions last week, Brian R. Smith and Meandering Mike, to please post the comments of the trench footers. A wardrobe place, World War II. Your oh, I wish you were around last week for the little conversation we were having about that. Brian R. Smith ended up finding out there's like a 90s metal band called the Trench Foot and all this stuff and so on. Trench trash. Oh my gosh, eh? Well, God, stop it, Chris. Stop. Anyways, that would have been, oh my gosh. Yes, I like that one too. Anyways, you guys keep it up. It's because it's your thingamajig is what I'm going to say in the long run. So let's go to the who or what am I in World War I, as far as I know. Let's do the first one. And like I said, I'll start popping them in the comments as well. So that way, and like I said, the first clue is going to be, I'm trying as much as possible to keep it the same one as every week. I've been in the news a lot recently. Like I said, I'm trying to sucker people into looking at the community post, and it drives me nuts that the thing that drives me nuts about YouTube and the community posts is there's no notifications for it. It drives me up the tree. It really does. Oh yeah, I've got to start doing this, of course. Tolemykus says, newsprint, you're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. Throwing your allies under the bus. And you are incorrect, but you're going to get a point for that, Meandering Mike. That's for sure. And hold on here. I've got to grab. I'm going to give you the second clue. I was born in Gibraltar, so now we know it's a person, and I'll put that as well in the comments. Missing. There's a few people were missing today, isn't it? Brian R. Smith's missing. Maybe shoveling snow. We're getting nailed again. Jeepers jumping, man, over here. It's just nuts. All right, so there's your. I put it in there. Tolemykus says, Enrique, you're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. And I'm now going to, you know what? Maybe it's kind of good that Brian R. Smith isn't around. He probably would get this right off the bat. Oh my gosh, he's terrible. Well, I mean, he's a good terrible, if you know what I mean. So there we go. And I put that in, and I put it in there. And my early years in the military were spent in Egypt, where I was awarded the Egyptian Star. Who am I? And there we go. And I'm looking at the comments, and we're all right. Good. And I'm going to keep on grabbing. It's really interesting to find out about all this stuff. This guy's got quite a history. Seems to have been quite a successful person as well. Wardrobe Place World War II says Tid-Bits. And hold on, you're going. I don't know. I have to pop your thing there, but you are incorrect. You're going to get a point though. And oh yeah, we are going to go to that video pretty darn soon, aren't we? Once we get rid of this, and then I'm going to put in the next clue. In October 1914, I served on the Western Front as a staff officer and was wounded in April 1915 and sent home to mend. Who am I? And I'm going to put that in as well. You little brat. Out of nowhere, Brian R. Smith. I was just talking about it. Good Lord. Well done, Brian R. Smith. And we'll talk about Sir Frederick Stanley Maude. Yeah, he's been all over the place due to the fact of the Alamara thingamajig. William Arends, T. Shaw Lawrence. Not bad, man. That's pretty close. Considering, hold on. I'm going to give you a point for sure. And Wardrobe Place World War II is going to get a point for Churchill. Yeah, that just freaks me right out. Bernard Smith out of the blue. Goodness gracious. So, and then after returning to active duty, I was given command of the 13th Division in the Dardanelles. And the sixth one was, I was the last man evacuated from Suvla Bay. And as you saw, the answer was Sir Frederick Stanley Maude. And let's see if I can find, I'm going to get rid of the thingamajig. Well done, Brian R. Smith, and great to see you. And Harro, Bosma, I'm going to give you a point as well, for goodness sakes. You just said Lawrence. No, I'll give you one. Darn right, why not? And let's see if I can find I'll tell you, there were so many things I could have used for this this person. Oh, goody, we saw that. Was awarded the Victoria Cross during the Crimean War. I was also going to say that he. I was going to say that he makes Nanguea's mustache look like a fact like a wannabe mustache. But look at all that. There we go. The awards, King Commander of the Order of the Band, blah blah blah. He's got tons of stuff here. There. Oh my gosh, impressive. But anyways, yeah, as we saw, anyways, I just we don't have to go and see him anymore. I can get rid of him. Boink, and we'll go back to the narrative. Well done. All right, so let me see if we've got everything there. And now we're going to go to we've done that, and we're going to get claimed he was descended from Norman invaders in 1066. What in the world? Whoa. Interesting. Well, maybe he's got. Hey, Zoe Dufour, great to see you. Hopefully you're doing well. The stashes. Oh my gosh, that would be neat. Warder plays World War II. Awesome to see you. He is the Stanley of Stanley and Livingston. Cool. He does. Yeah, his wife, his mom and dad seems to have been have some whatever's into them. Great to see you, Hex to Hex. Hope you're doing well. Anyways, we're about to go to your logic puzzle, Tolemykus, but for goodness sakes, it's freaking me out that it's been, 3 weeks now? I keep saying that. Let's go off to, I know that Corvinus Wargaming isn't here, but we're going to go and take a look at it super quickly, and then I can go off to the YouTube thingamajig. Is this. So this got released this week, and I'll bump it up a little bit, but it's, well, two things. Actually, maybe another one here. Yes, something like that would be great. And you guys would all have to get one, maybe some fake ones for the show. But anyways, when I saw this, so all these books got released by Osprey Publishing this month, I do believe. But when I saw this, Crescent Dawn, The Rise of the Ottoman Empire and the Making of the Modern Age, I was like, oh my gosh, not the same Stanley. Oh, interesting. Thanks, Manny Mike. But when I saw this, I was like, my God, that's got Corvinus Wargaming written all over it, for goodness sakes. And you can see some nice ones, but of course the one I really wanted to snag was, and you're going to go, what are you talking about? Why are you not grabbing that one? No, it's not Royal Navy Grand Fleet 1914. It's Muckton 1905. This one, 1904, 1905 is the one I really wanted to get because I got the Muckton game from Spence and Gable. I thought, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be cool? Anyways, I'm going to stop that. We're going to go to here. Hold on here. I want to make sure that we go to this and go to the play thing. Anyway, it's been 3 weeks now that I haven't been. We go to playlists. There we go. And it was in the critical past thingamajig. I just called it. We gotta look. It's around here somewhere. I know that for a fact. I saw it several times. Goodness sakes. Don't you do this to me. Where are you? Oh God, don't do this to me again. I swear to God, it was around. Let's go back to playlists. Let's go into there. Maybe it's in there. Nope. I swear to God, this is turning into some kind of weird thing. Is this it? Nope. Oh my gosh, this is nuts. Okay, you know what? We're gonna show you a thing. Journalist Harry Morton Stanley located the missing missionary David Livingston in 1871. Another thing I don't know. I'm gonna leave this off to the side, and I swear to God, if I can find it, I was watching it as soon as last week, as soon as we ended up the show. For goodness sakes, it's driving me nuts. Anyways, let's get back to the logic thing, Tolemykus's thing here. Hold on here. There we go. Boink. So present the screen, share the screen. God almighty, 30 minutes in, jeepers jumping. Oh, too much stuff, it's always better to have. So remember last week, it was the rescue of the Halifax explosion survivor. I'm not going to get through the famous thing here is, and remember it was, if you were leading the rescue about this poor little girl here, Ethel, what would be the best way to ensure Ethel's survival? Dig through the debris immediately, even if it risks further collapse, to free her as quickly as possible. Remember, this is about those ships, the ship that caught on fire, and it was a huge explosion, the largest man-made explosion before the atomic bomb in Halifax. Focus on evacuating as many people as possible first, then return for Ethel later. Send for reinforcements with proper equipment, even though it may take too long, or attempt to dig a tunnel under the debris, which could take longer, but might be safer. And we're not going to go through all that again, but we're going to go to Tolemykus's best course of action and reasoning. The best answer is B. Use the nearby wood and debris to create a makeshift barrier against the fire while trying to free her. Immediately digging, A, risked further collapse, and waiting for reinforcements, D, would take too long. Evacuating others first, C, would mean Ethel perished before help returned, and a tunnel, E, would take too much time given the approaching flames. By creating a temporary fire break, rescuers could buy themselves enough time to safely extract her before the fire spread. This approach, combined with rapid but careful digging, saved Ethel's life and allowed her to be one of the survivors of the disaster. Wicked, Tolemykus. Thank you for this. Like, you have no idea, man. This is just, like I've said before, it's almost like a dream come true. Here I am, weekly, get to interact with you guys, and it's coming back. Like, I get all these contributions. It's just awesome. Anyways, here's the new one. The secret rescue of the Tsar's documents, 1917. During the Russian Revolution of 1917, the Tsarist regime crumbled as Bolshevik forces seized power. Perfect timing. As the monarchy collapsed, Tsar Nicholas II and his family were imprisoned by the Bolsheviks in Tobolsk, Siberia, with plans to execute them. However, during the chaos of the revolution, a highly sensitive and secretive operation was underway, orchestrated by a small group of loyal Tsarist officials and aristocrats. Their mission was to protect and evacuate the Tsar's private archives, which contained critical documents on Russia's military and political strategy, documents that could potentially be used to undermine the new Bolshevik regime. One such document was a detailed military plan outlining Russia's intended mobilizations against Germany, dating back to 1914. It was seen as a potential game changer if it fell into the wrong hands. The documents were hidden within a sealed chest, and the plan was to smuggle them out of Tobolsk to the Russian imperial family's allies in Europe before they could be destroyed or seized. The operation began in late 1917 as the Bolshevik leadership became suspicious of any remaining Tsarist sympathizers. A local informant tipped off the authorities, triggering an urgent need to move the chest to a secure hiding place before Bolshevik spies discovered its location. Hold on here. In the dead of night, a trusted messenger, Sergei Ivanov, was tasked with transporting the chest under the cover of darkness, but reports started filtering in that Bolshevik patrols were searching the area, and the operation needed to be completed within hours. As Ivanov moved towards the escape route, it became apparent that the enemy knew his route, and the mission was in immediate jeopardy. He had to decide quickly. Should he risk a direct confrontation or abandon the chest to flee, hoping to salvage it later? If you were Sergei Ivanov, what would be the best course of action to ensure the safety of the Tsar's documents? A, attempt to cross the Siberian wilderness to a remote village where the chest can be hidden until it's safe to move it again. Oh my God. On a side note, this is kind of, well, not really related, but I don't know. It was somewhere in the Transylvanian Alps, mountains, I do believe that just a few weeks ago, where there was a cessation of operations between both sides because they were hunting wolves, for Christ's sakes. I just freaked me right out when I read that. I was like, what the hell? Anyways, B, find a trusted local ally and bribe them to take the chest across Bolshevik lines, hoping their connections will ensure its safety. It's certainly a bit different than the Christmas truce, I can tell you that much. Fight through the Bolshevik patrols to get the chest across enemy lines, risking everything for the documents. D, abandon the chest and escape into the wilderness to avoid capture with the plan to retrieve the documents once the situation settles. Or E, conceal the chest in a nearby church and send for reinforcements to secure it while waiting for the Bolshevik search parties to move on. I'm going with that one. Clues and false reports. Don't ever mess with the church. A Bolshevik spy reported that a suspicious figure was seen moving towards the forest, though no one could confirm it was Ivanov. Maybe it was the ghost, the Carpathian ghost. A local merchant who had been secretly loyal to the Tsar sent word that there was a house 20 miles away, but Bolshevik patrols were known to be in that area. The chest was too large to carry for long distances without attracting attention, and it was suspected that there was hidden maps inside. A false report claimed that the Bolsheviks had already destroyed any remaining Tsarist records, leading some doubt to the chest's importance. Meandering Mike's going to say F. Stash the chest deep in a cave where D&D minutes live. That will obviously eat all the hostile search party before they find your chest. Oh, you son of a bee, you're fantastic. Ivanov had overheard a Bolshevik officer talk about a planned search of all local churches in the coming days, heightening the urgency of moving the chest. Talk about cross-genre RPG there, eh? Holy smokes. Discussion topics. The Meandering Mike one. Discussion topics. How did the Bolsheviks use intelligence and informants to hunt down Tsarist loyalists during the Russian Revolution? You guys don't think this is educational material? It's not funny. Oh my God. I still haven't heard back from the historical World War I Historical Association, Tolemykus. I know their newsletter's coming out soon, but I would be surprised that she wouldn't have responded to my email. So I'll contact the president, Randy, like I said, and make sure that your stuff is published, because there's no screwing around here. What role did diplomacy and covert actions play in preserving historical documents during the times of political upheaval? How did Tsarist aristocracy attempt to protect their interests and secrets as the monarchy fell? Willie Merritt's right on. How did the Tsarist aristocracy attempt to protect their interests and secrets as the monarchy fell? What were the risks and benefits of using civilians as allies in covert operations? How did environmental factors like the harsh Siberian winters affect the movement and survival of people involved in covert operations? And on a side note again, the World War I Historical Association, the National World War I Museum and Memorial just had a lecture. I didn't watch it because I had other things to do, but it was on the Siberian Expeditionary Force. I think that was American. Like I said, I don't know, but it was just on Wednesday, I think, or something. But anyways, you got that done. Boom. And Charles Latora, wondering which country was the first to allow female lawyers. I don't know if you remember asking me that. I went and found out. Let's go and see if we can go and take a look at I got to go and grab the links. Hold on here. Oh, I can actually get rid of the mod thing, can't I, too? Hold on here. I'll get rid of him. Boink. And then we can go to here, so I can just go and find the bit. Is that there? Let's hold on here. I want to see why I've got that listed here. Let's just go about. Well, we still got a fair amount of time. Goodness gracious. I'm just really bummed out. I thought for sure I could have found. I'm going to try one last time. This is driving me up the tree that I can't find. Because I know, I saw it, for God's sakes. I was like, it was right in front of my bloody face. No, it's not the Deutschland, Lusitania. Boink. Ooh. Is it? No. Not that one. It's not the Deutschland. It's not the artillery barrage. It's only like a minute long. Maybe it's this one. Hello 106 video. Hold on. I'm going to take a look. No, that's the gas one. So it's not them either. Oh, darn it. How sad that the grand plans of the Kaiser to use the Bolsheviks to take Russia out of the war continue to destabilize the world up to this day. Yeah, well, remember, though, William Arends, on a side note, remember, it was the freaking Entente that were keeping the Russians from go to fight, which many ways they think was probably like the Kerensky offensive and all that stuff we're about to get into in the summer. Is that that was also part and parcel for pushing the Soviets for taking complete control. So let's just remember, little bit of both here is what I'm trying to say. Anyways, let's get back to, because I missed that bit. I got the merit. Oh yeah, like I said, I wanted to get into that link. So let's see if I can find it. No, it's not there. It's not there. There we go. But, and then I'll stop the screen because I got to pop it into the thingamajig. I'm trying to keep be cognizant of the time because I don't want to get too far off into Wonderland, which I kind of am as per usual. There's a lot of stuff I'd love to talk about. So maybe we'll go down the screen. So anyways, there you go. Charles Latora, I went and took a look. The first female lawyers around the world were, I do believe, Canada, shortly followed by the United States. So I was really surprised. So in 1897 in Ontario, Canada was the very first to have female lawyers. And great to see you, WNN. Please, for the love of God, can you please let me know when you're starting to do your book tour in North America? For goodness sakes, I'd love to know. You know, the only problem with that one, Meandering Mike, I'm just going to say, it's starting to sound a little bit more like springtime in Germany. And that's what I'm starting to think of the producers. That's starting to freak me out a little bit. But anyways, there you go. I wanted you to there. Let's get back into the community contribution thingamajigs. Yeah, so please let us know, WNN, when you're going to be in North America doing your book tour. I'd love to know. For sure, the Russians were not helped by the Entente allies, William Arends says. Right on. I'm glad you agree. The licorice trade and the factory in Tolemykus before, during, and after World War I. Tolemykus, thank you for goodness sakes for mentioning it. Let's go and see if I can pop it in here. The licorice trade, there you go. The whole, I didn't, like I said, and Brian R. Smith, if you can provide me a link or send me an email for that thing where you said that you actually found the location on a linen cloth map or whatever of the licorice factory around Tolemykus. I'd love to, like I said, I'd love to see if there's some way of making that into a soldier's scenario. I didn't realize how important the licorice factory was back then. And then you find out that even during the sieges Tolemykus, that Townsend's forces were actually eating licorice to try to stay alive. I was like, that was, well, I shouldn't be chuckling, but you get the idea. Now let's go off to pictures from William Arends. This is your Habsburg eclipse and Ottoman sunset stuff. Hold on here, let me get into it. And then I also have you as the banners, I do believe. Woink. After checking out YouTube playthroughs, I believe Gilbert Collins for Ottoman Sunset and Grant from the Player's Aid with Habsburg Eclipse, I finally felt secure enough to play the games myself. One thing that I've done is to recreate the counters and leave the originals in the box. Well done, sir. And now we're going to get to, I'm going to hide your thingamajig and go back to the comments to make sure I'm not losing things. And then I'm going to go to make sure that you guys can see it. Hold on. I'm going to get to the stop the screen and then go to make sure I'm not, there we go, present the screen. Oh my God, we're in 15 minutes left. Jesus H. Christ. And I'll get rid of me. You guys can see that. And then I'm actually going to make it width, fit the width. Then we're going to go there. So that way, and then I'll just slide on down. And we'll take a look. And sorry, William Arends, if I'm not doing it in sequence, but it's not a real end of the world thing. But you do a really cool shot of one of your pictures. I was like, oh, is it ever neat? Ooh, the Brusilov offensive. Look at that. Very colorful. Yeah, and you certainly look like you're in the middle of playing it. That's for bloody sure. Look at that. There's Mackinson. Hey, you. Right there. And that. Look at that. Wicked shot, man. It kind of reminds me of something that Charles Latora would do. I love it. Well done. Really, really like that shot. Nice. Yeah, I've got, okay, that's that. We'll stop the screen and let's go take a look at the thing because obviously we're getting way past, and we still haven't even done any of the important stuff, if you want to call it that. Hold on here, narrative. Those jigsaw puzzle boards at Victory Point games. Yeah, I was wondering about that too, Meandering Mike. I noticed that as well. I was like, what in the world is that? Choose our own adventure. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to it again. The protagonist pick because I want to go to the other stuff, but it's there. Like I said, the channel will be 3 years old. Please let me know, guys. I'm not really sure exactly. I know there's some kind of March thingamajig that goes around in Salt Lake City or something like that. There's some kind of convention. I know that Not Jay goes to it every once in a while. So does Gamers with Coffee, Ashley and Greg. They go to it every once in a while. I want to make sure I don't step like, you know, try to go on the same weekend or whatever that if other people are doing that type of stuff. Oh, they did. Also, Mayfair Games did nice puzzle maps. I didn't know anything about them. There. This is the jigsaw map of the second edition. I have made some servable, not permanent, homemade counters. I know, William Answers. Really happy to hear that. So what I was thinking about maybe doing the last Saturday in March to just do the anniversary every year. I thought that would make sense rather than always just pick a specific whatever. So that way we can always have the anniversary fall on a live stream date, which I think would be kind of nice. Notes, we won't have to worry about that. Like I said, I can't find General Admiral von Tirpitz for some bizarre reason. I don't know why I can't find it. We probably will not look at the World War I edition thing because I want to go and look at some other stuff. I'm just going to say this. That's it. It's the March to Victory. March to Victory. Thank you. That's what I was trying to remember the name of it. I think I was getting it screwed up with basketball stuff. I was thinking marching to Magnus or something. I was like, I don't know. I knew there was something I was getting gobbledygooked up. I'm just going to say this from we're not going to look at it right now, is the World War I. You know what? Should I be, you know what? We've got a bit of time. Screw this. Oh, yes, please. We're going to do this one first. I've got it yellowed out, for the love of God. It's only very long. Like I said, I really want it. Look, we're just right now. We've seen it this week and also last week with the articles where the British are wondering why in the world they're able to advance so much up in the Western Front. They're taking monster amount of the front, as we've seen. And they're like, whoa, hardly any resistance. Because they're clued in now. But it's because, the Germans are falling back to the Hindenburg line and all that stuff. But I wanted to go and take a look. Remember, we've seen this way back when. So I'm going to stop the screen. Yeah, let's go take a look. Now, remember, it's day by day. It's going to happen real fast. But watch, we've seen this before. But I just wanted you guys to see how dramatic. Did I not put it in there? Hold your horses, you little bratskins. I'm sure I did. There we go. No, I wanted here in his thing. Yes. Hold on. I'm almost there, guys. But for the love of God, we're going to see this. Yes. Okay. I just want to make sure I get it right. And then we're going to go up there. And then I'm going to make sure that you guys see it full on. So what you're going to see, like I said, this is day by day. And we're about to see, I'm going to get rid of me. Sorry. We're about to see the Germans fall back to the Hindenburg line. It is dramatic. Remember, it's day by day. It's going to happen real fast. This video is only 7 minutes long, so he's doing it real quick. You ready? Here we go. There we go. Did you see it? I hope you did. I thought it was pretty dramatic. All right, there we stop. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Brian R. Smith. But anyways, you guys got to see that, I hope. Anyways, maybe it wasn't as dramatic as you guys thought. I thought it was. Oh, brother. Anyways, yeah, so that's, as you know, what's happening. Of course, the Germans are also like just obliterating everything before they leave to make sure there's nothing left. And I remember that BBC thing that actually WNN, yes, Harro Bosma, you're bloody right. is that WNN, you were the one who had mentioned, by the way, go and take a look at that BBC thing there, the 3 days in the train car or whatever about the thing. And I went and purchased it, and it is a darn good little thing to watch. And where they got that poor high school teacher that's going to be the one that signs for the Germans there, the armistice. And when he gets picked up by the French, they make sure they drive the long way to the train to make sure that he sees the absolute devastation that the Germans have done to the French territory. They made sure that they wanted to see that. I thought that was amazing. Amazing little tidbit there. So, okay, we did get to see this, and now we're going to go back to the present the screen because we're only 10 minutes in. Oh, my God. Yeah, we're going to have to stop. I'm just going to go super quick and show you all the stuff that we're not going to talk about, but I would have liked to have talked about. So in Consim World Forum, I've mentioned before, there's a bazillion people posting stuff in the Great War to Interwar period page or whatever. Somebody just did that. I don't know why I've never thought about looking at the Revolution games of these ones here. But I went and watched this guy's video, Hex Encountered, The Death of an Army. He's got a bunch of them up there. Ypres 1914. And it looks damn good, not to mention the fact that the counters are way smaller than the hexes. I was like, thank God. And that's it. Let's go off into doing the other stuff. I think that's the best way to do it. So we're going to get rid of the licorice factory for whatever. I'll go and post it, though, later on. Tolemykus, I'm going to get rid of this stuff. Yeah, we're going to get into... I do have a few minutes. Okay, we'll see how we go. We'll see how, because I want to make sure that we don't screw. So here we go. We're going to do the week that was. Reason being is I did a little bit. I think I've mentioned before that I ordered last week Kaiserslautern 1918 and Mukden 1905, two games from Spence and Gable. They were arrived very early this week. I did a super quickie little sneak peek video for you guys. Recorded it this morning. It's on YouTube there. It's hexed and countered. Thank you. Thank you, Brian R. Smith, because that's extremely important that I get his bloody name right. So thank you very much. Anyways, I did a super thing. I wanted the guys to show you the Kaiserslautern game primarily. It's enormous. Holy smokes, man. When I saw the Ziploc bag that it came in, it's monstrous. But anyways, I don't know if we'll ever get to it because I want to make sure that we get to as much of William Arends' stuff. The week that was, February 23rd to March 1st, 1917, February 23rd, on the Western Front, the British follow up on the retreating Germans. Northwest of Okna in Moldavia, the Russians lose the heights of Magyaros, and 1,000 Russians are taken prisoners. Sounds like the battle between the Scarlet Witch and Agatha Harkness. Ooh, cool. Above Kut, the British crossed the Tigris at the Shumran Bend, taking 544 prisoners. And I'm going to say this on a side note. If anybody is sticking around for the after hours, I'm sorry I got a bit cocky as per bloody usual. But hopefully that humble pie thing at the beginning will rein me back in and realize, Chris, you're not a bloody historian. You're just a whatever. Just really into the Great War. And that's what you are. Because I started ad-libbing and going off on the bends as per usual with that stuff. But anyways, it's after hours. That's why I'm looking at it. At Sanayat, British storm and take the third and fourth lines trenches, just due to the fact that boy, oh boy, do the British ever milk the fact that they've taken Kut El Amara. I'm like, yeah, I know. You guys really go for it. A submarine seeks one because, of course, remember, they got their arses kicked in back just a little while ago. Okay, thanks, Charles Latora. A submarine sinks one Norwegian and 4 British steamers, including the Holt liner Perseus. February 24th, Mr. Gerard is received at Madrid by the King of Spain. That's the American ambassador, remember. Getting sent back, but he was held up there, remember, for quite a while by the Germans. Kut is evacuated by the Turkish forces, and the whole of the enemy positions from Kut to Sanayat is taken with 1,730 prisoners, which would have been yet again an act of war. Turkish troops begin retreating to Baghdad. A German withdrawal is in full swing with the villages of Serre, Mirimont, Petit Mirimont, Pisse, and Valencourt evacuated. February 25th, German retreat continues on the Ancre. British advance extends over a front of 11 miles from south of Gommecourt and reaches an extreme depth of 3 miles. Successful raids of Monchy-au-Bois, Lens, and in Champagne. Now, naval air raid on Breibach near Metz. Turkish retreat continues, which is closely pursued by British cavalry. Did you know Cat Steve sang a song about British exploits? No, I had no idea, Meandering Mike. Holy smokes. Turkish retreat continues, which is closely pursued by the British cavalry. Turkish troops destroy much war material on their retreat to Baghdad. I was called the first. Oh, you son of a. Oh, gosh. Oh, someone locate his place. Anyways, Turkey, where are we here? Margate and Broadstairs, that should say Broadstairs, are bombarded for 10 minutes by German destroyers, with 3 killed and 1 wounded being reported. The steamship Laconia is sunk with 4 Americans, reported to have drowned, which is considered the overt act that President Wilson was waiting for before declaring war on Germany. New British war loan subscriptions amount to, and new money, and I don't understand that, but they keep mentioning that, minus 10 points. Excellent, Charles Latora. I'll go with that. February 26th, war conference at Calais. Wilson asks Congress to establish armed neutrality in armed merchant vessels. Andrew, Mike, good. Hope it stays there forever, your little earworm. Wilson, British government requisitions Dutch ships in British ports, and it's sung by somebody really bad English. Whatever, bad accent. So there you go. Turkish rearguard covers the retreat 15 miles from Kut. Anyways, there's another side thing. You guys know a lot more about rearguard stuff. I mentioned it in the After Hours War Summary. I got to find out more about the actual true function of a rear guard and whatnot. It's I just see it often here. HMS Firefly is recaptured. North and south of the Ancre, British make further progress, capturing the village of Le Bac, just southwest of Bapaume. February 27th, Ligny and Gommecourt are occupied by the British, along with the western and southern defenses of Puiseux. East of Armentières, British raiders seriously damage 3 lines of enemy trenches and take 17 prisoners. Near Chicopany, Germans take several Russian positions on high ground, along with 1,300 prisoners. At Salonika, German airmen bombard Allied enemy camps with 1 enemy machine reportedly shot down. The British pursuit of Turkish forces along the Tigris continues, with 7,000 prisoners reportedly taken. Doesn't need to. Yeah, kind of like in Star Trek 2. The German Chancellor proclaims great success of the new submarine campaign and justifies the breaking of Germany's agreement with USA, saying it was conditional on America insisting on Great Britain to respect international law concerning freedom of the seas, specifically the British naval blockade. The Duma reopens. Yeah, probably not for long. The February 28th, Allied ministers present a memorandum to the Chinese government. Oh, yes, we're not going to get to it. But the Athos that was sunk last week or whatever in the Mediterranean, and they mentioned the Senegalese troops. And remember Senegalese with the French, they're just using that as a blanket thing. Anybody that's any colonial from Western Africa is considered Senegalese by them. But by the way, there was also over 500 Chinese laborers that's drowned on that freaking sinking. No one mentions them. More information in regards to the German plots regarding Mexico and Japan is published in the USA. The French destroyer Cassini is just torpedoed in the Mediterranean. Turkish losses, and wasn't the Marshal Foch banned? There you go. Austro-Hungarian attacks on the Asiago Plateau and north of Gorizia are repulsed. Romanian counterattacks in Bukovina are partially successful. Deloy, Gommecourt, Puiseaux, and Sailly-Salicel are taken by the British. March 1st, General Headquarters, GHQ, reports the capture of 2,133 German prisoners in 11 villages during the past month. Every single one of those villages, I can guarantee you, is flattened down to nothing. German air losses during February are twice those of the Allies. Airplane raid on Broadstairs with 6 reported injured. First weekly statement of shipping sailings, arrivals, and losses is issued. Germany announces the end of the safe period for all sailing vessels in the Atlantic. Herr Zimmermann gives a speech on the torpedoing of neutrals, and it doesn't go over well. The government of India's offer of obviously is accepted, as if they're not going to. And we got one tough. We're going to go a bit longer for sure, William Arends. I'm doing at least this article, probably not number 2, but I'm going to do the last of number 3 due to the fact that you mentioned the Laconia, and that's a biggie, as we know. Translators note, this part includes articles from the newspaper issued on February 20th and 21st, 1917. I will say this, though, sadly, William Arends, is there was no articles from my favorite newspaper, the nonpartisan newspaper. I just love that they keep saying that. It's just awesome. Oh my God, there it is. Well, shut up then. It's a nonpartisan newspaper. I get it. Thank you. The first article is about the diplomacy between the USA and Austria-Hungary. Berlin's latest news, and my favorite newspaper, a nonpartisan newspaper, Tuesday, 20th February 1917, evening edition. On an American diplomatic note sent to Austria-Hungary. Vienna, 19th February, report from the Vienna Telegraph Correspondence Bureau. The current ambassador of the United States of America gave a formal memorandum to the Austrian-Hungarian Foreign Ministry in reference to the answer of the Austrian-Hungarian government about the American note concerning the Ancona and the Persia. You got to go. Take care of yourself, Ashley. I hope to goodness I see you tomorrow on your show. That's for bloody sure. Where am I? That the Washington cabinet accepts the concept that the privately owned ships of enemy nations, as long as they do not attempt to either flee or resist, should not be destroyed before the safety of the passengers on board has been secured. Oh my gosh, I'm not sure if it is the third article there, William Arends, with your the last article, but my God, there was some biting prose in that. I was like, ooh, whoever that person that wrote that was good. Further, in reference to the communication of the Austrian-Hungarian government from the 31st of January 1917 over the provisions of the restricted sea zone, the American government, according to the final regulations, now wants to establish through clear instructions what was the standpoint of the Austrian-Hungarian government in hindsight on how its leadership feels about the conduct of the U-boat war in the cases of the sinking of the Ancona and the Persia, accepting only that those assurances in the form of either amendments or retractions of firmly held positions will be considered. Just going to say this in a side note because I'm going to forget. For the love of God, go to the World War I, the National World War I Museum and Memorial Education's page. Take a look at their upcoming lectures that are coming. There are some dandies, like on Falkenhayn, the whole 9 yards. For goodness sakes, do this. OHE, without qualifications, as one must see it. Herr Wilson has already broken off any attempt to bridge the differences with Vienna, whether he wants to do more for future negotiations as quickly as possible to keep them in hand as an option, or is he holding evermore to the delusion that mistrust and differences of opinion can be sown between Vienna and Berlin? Perhaps he and his cabinet are striving to achieve both aims. Collins just posted a video on 1914 deluxe. Cool. Thanks, Meandering Mike. This may, and I'm just going to say this on a side note because we didn't talk about it. The World War I Deluxe Edition is so far removed, as far as I'm concerned, from the original SPI game. It's not funny. Sure, go ahead and compare them, but they're so different games. It's not funny. Like it. Sure, there's some similarities, but that's why it's not a reskinning. They're different. This may be the reason that Girard's first consul secretary, the ambassador, was not immediately ordered back to Washington. Rather was first sent to Vienna. Pertinent to this are the millions of questions they have, which are naturally worded as superficially as possible. The Persia either went over a mine or a submarine, or the 4 allies said, oh my God, maybe this is the biting stuff. I think it is at the end here. Had sunk it either by mistake or on purpose. The Ancona had been torpedoed while it sought to flee, acting contrary to the human rights of its passengers. You know, it's about the amount of how many U-boats were around. I don't think we're going to get to it, darn it. At that time, both Germany and Austria-Hungary conducted their U-boat war in the form of a cruiser war, acting similarly to surface raiders. Meanwhile, in contrast, Austria-Hungary also had, on the 31st of January 1917, publicly proclaimed, I know Meandering Mike as well. I think in a previous video, Gilbert Collins, he hadn't been doing stuff in quite some time. I think he was mentioning he had been ill or injured or something like that. So he's just recuperating. So good on him. And he's going to be, usually runs games of can games, obviously naval oriented. That Austria-Hungary and his associates would, from the 1st of February 1917, attempt to cut Great Britain, France, and Italy off from all sea commerce and within a defined restricted sea zone, hinder all ships' voyages by the use of every measure available. And I know I keep mentioning this, William Arends, I keep not doing it, though, as I want to start posting your ATAs. We do, though, have to start doing a dedicated web page off to the side and get away from the community thing for flipping sure. That's for sure. What did Meandering Mike say? Yes, World War Intellects is different enough that BGG formula is separate, as well as Meandering Mike. Even the decision games. Oh, I see what you mean. Sorry, I know what you're going from. I'm sorry, I was thinking about your World War One Unleashed. Sorry, I'm getting that confused again. Translator's note. The article from, oh my God, I'm way past, eh? Oh, well, you guys are still sticking around, so that's nice to see. I'm going to put your thing on longer because I didn't take a look at it. Translator's note, the articles from February 21st is the regular report of the higher headquarters. Berlin's latest news, Wednesday, 21st of February, 1917. I'm going to get rid of your thing. No, I don't have to. The Western Theater of War, overcast weather and rain held back the combat activities along much of the front. Southeast from Ypres and on both sides of the channel of La Bassée, an English reconnaissance advance took place. By Fleuren, between Mons and Moselle, French soldiers fell in partial engagement. With the taking of a base south of La Transois on the 19th of February, 2 officers and 26 Englishmen were captured. 5 machine guns were seized. Holy shoot. I mean, that don't you find that's a bit strange ratio there? The Eastern Theater of War, in parts of the front, principally in the Carpathian woods and on both sides of the valley of Auteuil, artillery fire and preparatory attacks have occurred. Maybe that's where the little cessation of operations there to go and hunt wolves. My God, that would have been could be another game in there for someone. The Macedonian front, active fire occurred between Vardar and Daran Lake after an advance of English units had been turned back this evening. And we're going to just, yes, because I really want to go to the very end here. I know that's, we're going to, where are we going to go to the last? I want to make sure that I get to it. And come on, come on. Come on, come on. Come on. We're getting there, and then we'll go off into after hours land. And I'll get rid of your thing just for now. Come on, where are you? Don't do this to me. Ah, here we are. Translator's note. The last article of the Bat showed how the Americans were being ever increasingly affected by the war. And like I said before, I know that we're like in the current events thing in the jig, so there's going to be some overlap, Will and Arends. But I swear to God, I feel like we've got some newspaper or news psychic link. It's just awesome. When you send your stuff afterwards, you fill in blanks for me so much. It's not funny. And from my favorite newspaper, a nonpartisan newspaper, Tuesday, 27th of February, 1917, morning edition. The Cunard passenger steamer Laconia sunk. London, 26th of February, Reuters official report. The passenger steamer Laconia that had set sail from New York had been torpedoed without warning. A ship with 270 survivors of the Laconia, consisting of a vast number of its passengers, was expected to be in the harbor by midnight. Is that it? That's the end of it. Oh, darn it. Okay, then we'll stop. I'm going to stop. Then we're going to stop the screen, I guess. And I'm just going to point. There we go. And then we'll go off to, like I said, it put all this other crazy nonsense stuff. And you know what? We're into after hours land, right? So I'm just going to, if you guys are going to stick around, I'm going to make this part of the after hours thing is what I'm going to say. So I'm going to hold on here. I've got to actually, and then we'll go off into, so it's going to be the sneak peek the sneak peek of the there. Hold on here. So this is the sneak peek of the thing I wanted to show, and then we'll go off to after hours because it's 5 minutes long, guys. I thought I was going to do a super quickie. So here we go. I'll shush. Alrighty. Yeah, I'm probably going to do another video of these games, but I wanted to kind of give you guys a sneak peek. So this is the Kaiserschlatt Battle for Europe 1918 game by Spence and Gable that I was surprised it showed up very early this week. And you can obviously see it's huge. I didn't expect it to be this big. It came in a giant Ziploc. Like you can see, here's the normal size rules. I'm not gonna, like I said, this is just kind of like a sneak peek thingamajig. It comes in with 4 maps. It's monstrous. It is the first edition. I got these 2 games from, and you can see here, it's huge. I got these 2 games from Noble Knight. A couple things I will say about it. I'll show you the second game in a minute. It's monstrous. Holy moly. I'm excited, but it's going to be a while till I actually play it out. That's for sure. What I'm going to say is the 2 things about the Noble Knight thing is, I think I mentioned earlier that one was that I did go through USPS instead of FedEx this time. So I didn't have any, I'm not going to have to worry about a month later getting, oh, by the way, you owe us an extra whatever amount of money, the way FedEx was doing it. But it did cost more money up front, but at least it's over with. So I'm looking at it. Secondly, it's not the end of the world really, but supposedly both copies that I picked up were supposed to be first edition. So they were not going to be the Excalibur copies. I didn't want to get those. This is definitely a first edition copy. I can tell you that much. I can just tell right off the bat with the counters. I don't know if you can really see it, but here I'll try to. These are Germans here. The bottom ones, some Brits. Like I said, I'm just doing a quickie here. I can tell right off the bat that they really are. Those are good counters to begin with. They're not bad. Like I was moving them around, but you can see that the registration or the counters are really, really close to everything there. And then if I look at the rules, it's like, aha, you're just like the rules, as you can see there, I hope. Anyways, looks really interesting. The previous owner, I'm not going to show you the rest of the counters. Like I said, it's super, this is just a very impromptu one. The former person typed out the errata on tractor feed paper. Oh gosh, that brings me back. And some player notes on some strategy and whatnot. So that's really neat. The only thing, like I said, we'll talk about this later. The second thing I did pick up, which supposedly was going to be a first edition as well. It's certainly not. Here's the giveaway right off the bat. There's an Excalibur Games brochure thingamajig or pamphlet with the game. But the other one is Mucked in 1905. Coincidentally, Osprey Publishing just this month released a Mucked in 1905, one of their little battlefield type books or whatever. So I'm like, that's rather interesting. Here's the counters. So there's another giveaway that it's an Excalibur thing. Gosh, that brings me back. This is worse though, but it brings me back. It is worse. Brings me back to the days of metagaming. My very first Hex Encounter game back in grade 7, GEV or Jev. Well, I call it Jev. Yeah, that's like I said, it's going to be, and you want to see the size difference. Look at the size of this monster over there. It's really interesting. There's not very many rules to it. There's some kind of interesting thing about stacking with the Kaiserschlatt book game. Lots of people have had issues with it. There you can see like an old normal-sized game map, I guess. This will be interesting. But yeah, there was something about... well, I don't know if you can see it now. Let's just go quickly. You can see there's like an offensive factor and a defensive factor. And I think there's stacking limits for offense and defense. So it's rather interesting. And I don't know if there's any, by the way, if doesn't seem to be any penalty in the sense of you're eliminated if you can't, a player can't get those units off of an overstacked hex, except I guess in the combat results, if the defender or attacker is eliminated. I don't know what the CRT looks like, but the entire stack would be wiped out. I think that's it. I'm really interested because there's not a lot of rules, as you can see here, but it's supposedly like a monster for dummies. I was saying to Meandering Mike, actually. Then that sounds perfect for me. I'd love that's the type of stuff, but that's it. And then he goes off. They go off to the designer notes and talk about. I've got a soft spot for Spence and Gable, to be honest with you. Typed by Shirley, isn't that cool? So yeah, and they said it took 2 years for them to design the game and so on and so forth. But I'll talk about it later. I think I'll be really excited. Okay, that's it. And like I said, that's kind of like just a sneak peek for you guys. All right, see ya. All right, stop the screen now because I'm about to go do the after hours properly. Hopefully this went well. How large would a piece of plexiglass have to be to cover the entire map? Oh my gosh, William Arends, I think quite a bit. I didn't measure it out, but that thing is crazy. Not too worried. I think what I'm going to end up doing, if once I end up playing it, I'll. Oh my gosh, there is some stuff I found. Something called drafting tape or something. It's I guess very just enough stick, but supposedly it won't actually. It's even better than painter's tape in the sense that it won't rip paper or something. Wouldn't mind trying that, but we'll see how that goes. Hopefully this went well. Boy, oh boy, did we ever go over. And you know, but at least, like I said, William Arends, I'll make sure this time I bump your stuff up ahead of time, so that way. If there's any mad rush at the end, it'll just be for, you know, stuff that's not whatever, not so important. Because I mean, obviously, if I don't do post the contributions, then it's like, well, what's the incentive? For goodness sakes, it's not very. And like I said, you know, you're gonna have it. Don't worry, like it's your show as much as mine. That's I've always said this. Okay. You guys have a great remainder of your weekend. Great week. I'm about to pop on the proper after hours thing. Like I said, word of warning, as per usual, on Mr. Editorial. I'll go off and start because I'm starting to get a bit big for my britches, thinking I know all kinds of things. And I don't, as we've figured out earlier on there with the stuff. I've got a long way to go. Hold on here. But hopefully I do have a long way to go because I want to keep on truck. I love learning about this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to have to pop on the thing for for LiveStream 109. Holy shoot, guys! I'm sorry to say this. Great to see you, man. Mike, I hope you have a great remainder of your day. Oh my God! Just to let you know, this is one hell of a long one. 52 minutes of after hours. I'm not going to be on for a long time. Oh my God! It's probably did. I knew it was also as well. There was a lot of chit chat. There was a lot of text to read this week. But then, of course, as per usual, as you can hear, I just keep on blah blah blahing. Great to see you again, Harro Bosma. And like I said, find out when that. What is it called? March to Mad. Marching. I just did it again, didn't I? I can't remember the name of it. The March thing in the jig. Meandering Mike was mentioning. I'll try to find out what that weekend, if it's the very last weekend of March or it's the week of. But anyways, we'll see. Maybe the last Saturdays we'll do that. March to victory. Thank you, Tolemykus. So anyways, I'll shut up and let me present the screen. And away we go. And I'm turning into Texter Man. Yep. All right. See you later. Well, I'll still be here for another 53 minutes or so. Goodness gracious. Will your voice hold out for the entire? No, well, it is, William Arends, because I've recorded it. I'm a smart little puppy. I used to not do that, and I was toast. By the end, I just couldn't do it. Like I was like, so this is what I do. I do this. I do the war summary ahead of time. So this has been recorded. It's on YouTube in my little thing. So now I can just hit the off button on my microphone and go wander around, grab some to eat, get some coffee, do that type of stuff, and check the texts. Anyways, that's it. Turning into a commenter like you guys. See you later. Bye. All right, here we go. The war summary for February 23rd to March 1st, 1917. In the Balkans, there are feverish symptoms of the coming summer campaign. According to the Associated Press correspondent at Salonika, fresh troops are arriving at that point in large numbers, including big Italian reinforcements. Last year, the German offensive at Verdun and the necessity imposed upon Britain and her allies of relieving the pressure on the French Western Front prevented operations on a large scale in the Balkans. Another consideration that weighed with the Allies was the uncertainty with regard to Greece. That danger on the flank of the advancing armies has been removed. The Greek army is safely interned in Peloponnesus, south of the isthmus on Corinth, covered by the guns of Allied warships. The Berlin-Constantinople Railway is the connecting link between Germany and Turkey. The cutting of this communication is one of the main objectives of the Allied advance in the Balkans. Turkey is kept in the field only by means of the supplies that reach the Ottoman forces from Germany. The number of Allied troops in Macedonia is estimated by the Associated Press correspondent at about 350,000. They include British, French, Russians, Serbians, Italians, and Venezuelans. General Thierry, it is said, will not move until he has 500,000 men in the field. Interesting, I'm just going to say this on a side note. It's interesting they just didn't say Greeks. Do you not agree with me? Fighting in southern Bukovina has been resumed. Northwest of Dorna Vatra, the Germans attacked the Russian positions in mass formation after a heavy artillery bombardment. The enemy advanced to within 300 yards of the trenches and was held up by the Russian fire. Unable to advance or retire, the Germans lay low until darkness enabled them to withdraw. In northern Galicia, on the Lemberg front, and in southern Bukovina near the passes into Transylvania, the Germans have been steadily on the offensive since the beginning of the year. As soon as weather permits, heavy fighting may be expected in this region. Germany may make a big attempt to complete her work in the Balkans, where she committed the blunder of entering upon a campaign dictated by political considerations and from which it is now impossible to withdraw. On the Lemberg front, in northern Galicia, fighting took place at Zlakov. The Berlin report claims a German success. East of Zlakov, which is on a branch line of the Lemberg Railway, the Germans stormed the Russian position, capturing 250 prisoners. Greece is cut off from all intercourse with the Central Powers, save by wireless and aerial communication. Moving eastward through southern Albania, the Italian forces came into touch with the French, clearing all obstacles from their path. Rioting in Athens has followed the tightening of the blockade cordon. Greece no longer is free to flout the Allied powers. Stricken with the malaria, 20% of French and 30% of British troops that went to Salonika last year have been invalided home. The Venezuelans have failed to recruit to the extent anticipated, but this was due to the laxity shown in dealing with the Greek monarchists. The result is that the Allies have to draw upon their own resources in making up the full complement of men required by Saray. Tired troops from the Somme and Verdun regions have been transferred to Salonika, lucky them, where they will have time to recuperate. Large numbers of Italians are landing at Salonika. In addition to these, Italian troops massing at Avlona and Greek Epirus are moving eastward. We're reading somewhere they were saying that this area here is what ended up becoming like one of the largest internment camps, if you want to look at it that way. Of just so many sick, and they didn't do much. Well, at least at this point, anyways. Shush. North of the Somme and south of Ypres, the guns on both sides were particularly active. German raids on the British lines were repulsed east of Vermelles and south of Neuchâtel. Fogs and rain have halted operations. Considerable activity along the French front in the Balkans is reported from Paris. Aviators were actively engaged, and the guns were busy all along the line. Near Serre and Lake Doran, raids were carried out and 2 enemy counterattacks repulsed. The investment of Kut El Amara has practically begun. The War Office, in its weekly review, points out that General Maud's advance on the Tigris is of great military value in preventing the Turks lending aid to Germany on the European fronts. The Grand Vizier declared recently that Turkey wanted her men for her own defense. The British offensive at Kut El Amara is drawing every available man from Constantinople, pivoting his right on Sana'iyat, where fighting is still in progress. General Maude made a wide detour with his left, enveloping line after line of the enemy's positions, culminating in the Battle of Dara and the occupation of the Big Bend in the river. I was going to say this, we're about to read, as far as I remember, a ton of Kut El Amara. Okay, they're gonna milk this like you won't believe. Okay, yes, I know that I'm also biased against the British at this point in time. I think it's people can kind of see this. It is a major thing that they're doing. Yes, they're going to eventually get to Baghdad and so on and so forth, and the dominoes are going to fall. But oh my God, do these guys ever milk it? Do they ever want to stop making you not think about what happened? When they were offering money to the Turkish government to let the British out of Kut El Amara and so on and so forth. Anyways, I'm just saying, it's just boy, oh boy. 8 vessels were sunk yesterday in the submarine zone, aggregating 17,000 tons. These included 2 large British ships, 1 Dutch and 1 Russian. Germany's colonial empire has passed away. Her last possession has been conquered by General Smuts. I also found this paragraph a little odd because we know General Smuts is no longer there. I understand what they're saying, that that just would have maybe phrasing would have been a little bit better. It just kind of makes it sound like General Smuts is right there. Mr. Walter Long, the British Colonial Secretary, has stated publicly that the captured colonies will never be returned. In this, Britain is supported by France, Japan, and Australia. The native tribes that have been under the Teuton yoke will rejoice that the day of their bondage is over. Germany treated the natives with scant consideration and has left few among them to bewail her downfall as a colonizer. At Sanayiyat, where the British right has been in action, the Turks are strongly entrenched, with one flank resting on the Tigris and the other on a marsh. With the aid of a few enemy machine guns, the Turks may make the capture of these lines of about 800 yards a costly enterprise for the British. The War Office does not expect immediate success in this sector, where the British on Saturday last, after capturing the enemy's front lines, were forced to withdraw. The steady pressure on the Sinai, Caucasian, and Tigris fronts will keep the Turks busily engaged in Asia. The fighting in this region began in November 1914, when the British landed troops at Pau on the Persian Gulf after bombarding the town. Advancing along both banks of the river, the British armies met and defeated the Turks in a number of engagements, advancing almost to the gates of Baghdad. One of the big military advantages gained by the advance in this region was the protection of the British oil concession of Persia. A Turkish force early in 1915 made an unsuccessful attempt to cut the oil pipe near Ahwaz on the Persian frontier. Another important advantage gained was the neutrality of Persia. Germany hoped, through Turkish sectarian influence, to create serious trouble in Persia for Britain and Russia, who maintained spheres of influence in that country. Premier Lloyd George, in his statement on the food and shipping this one is so interesting. The next few paragraphs about the food situation in Great Britain, I found it really interesting. Very candid as well. I was like, whoa. Premier, but like I said, they're feeling the bite, pardon the pun. Premier Lloyd George, in his statement on the food and shipping problem, stuck what many may regard as an alarming note when he placed before the British people the 2 alternatives of making still bigger individual sacrifices or facing national disaster. In his judgment, the situation calls for the gravest measures. He has no doubt as to ultimate victory if the country willingly accepts as inevitable the drastic steps taken by the government to overcome the German submarine blockade. These steps impose additional restrictions on non-essential imports, a further reduction in brewing and distilling outputs, the fixing of guaranteed minimum prices for wheat, oats, and potatoes, and compulsory agricultural production. I'm going to say this. Take that paragraph and flip it on its head. And it's, if you could just say right there, drastic steps taken by the government to overcome the British submarine naval blockade. It's amazing. This is exact same thing that the Austro-Hungarians could be saying to their people or the Germans. It's just amazing. The gravity of the situation is due to two causes. Yeah, here's the candid bits. Shortage in last year's harvest throughout the world and shortage of mercantile shipping. Under the most favorable circumstances, the shortage of food would have been felt in the United Kingdom. Speaking in the House of Commons in January last, Mr. Lloyd George forecasted the present low margin of food reserves when he said the main facts are plain. The harvests of the United States and of Canada are failures, and the Argentine promises badly. Russia is unavailable, and our own harvest is poor, while only 3/8 of the normal winter sowing has taken place owing to bad weather. It was under these circumstances the Asquith government decided to appoint a food controller, and that minimum prices for wheat, oats, and potatoes were at that time fixed. The prices are now guaranteed to the farmers for all wheat, oats, and potatoes raised. The last step has been taken in nationalization for war purposes, the nationalization of the soil. Before the war, the English agricultural laborer was paid about $2.50 a week. For the period of the war, at least, he will get a little over $6 per week. The farm laborers now are largely women and men unfit for military service. Oh my gosh! Just say on a side note, that little bit there about the soil, a nationalization of the soil. I just remember, I can't remember the person who did the poem, but just talking about all the dead British soldiers around the globe, and that there will always be a piece of England somewhere because of where they're buried. I was like, whoa! But it's that kind of bit there. Anyway, shush. Against the submarine danger, Britain relies upon her navy, her shipbuilders, and the sacrifices of her people. Food reserves are low in Great Britain. Preparing secretly for this war. Oh my God! Yes, this again. Preparing secretly for this war, Germany did not neglect her basic industry. Okay, I know I'm doing it again, but I'm sorry. I'm in the camp of they were not doing a preemptive whatever. Anyways, one important fact to bear in mind is that I'm not saying they're good guys. I'm not saying that nobody is in this thing. In mind is that 93% of the land of Germany is owned by the cultivator of the soil as compared with 11%. I would say maybe Serbia, that's about it, to be honest with you. I mean, keepers jumping, like the average whatever. In England and okay, shush, this is getting into whatever. In England and Wales, 100-acre farm supports 75 persons in Germany against 50 in England and produces considerably more to the acre than the British farm, which is favored by better soil and climate. But for the efficiency of the German farmer, the German Empire would have been at the end of its food resources long before the end of the Second Year of War. This is the opinion of Lord Selborne, former Minister of Agriculture in England. Fogs and rains on the Western Front are converting the rolling tableland of Pleury into seas of mud that mingle with the shallow chalk streams. What a visual. But the British troops keep nibbling at the enemy's lines. There it is again. North of, oh, darn it. Well, I will look this up, but I just obviously didn't look it up at this point. I did write them down in my books. These are words that I wanted to, it's probably from this bloody page too. This is one word I wanted to make sure that I was getting right. I'm not sure about the E before cool. So anyways, we're going to go with what I think it should be. Guidacourt in the Somme region, the British yesterday improved their position, but I'm not sure because it doesn't have an accent aigu or any of that stuff. Portion of the German trenches was captured, 30 prisoners taken. South of Petit Mirimont, south of the Ancre, an enemy post was occupied. North of Guidacourt, let's go with that. The land falls away on the road leading to Ligny. The same tactics are being pursued in this region that preceded the opening battle of the Somme. Intermittent bombardments, raids at different points to mislead the enemy, and aerial fights when the weather permits. Southeast of Souchez, the British raided the enemy's trenches and destroyed his dugouts. Oh, we're going to find out about dugouts later. On a side thing I did. South of Armentières and in the vicinity of Ploeg Street, Stiert Wood, the Germans attempted to surprise the British yesterday at dawn. A few succeeded in entering the British lines, but were killed or taken prisoner. The main body of the raiders was driven back. In the Somme region and south of Arras, the German guns were particularly active. South of Ypres, the British shelled the enemy's trenches. In the Champagne region, where the French a few days ago met with local reverse, the enemy's positions near Mesnil-Wood were heavily shelled, a serious fire starting within the German lines. Artillery fighting was carried on in Lorraine and Alsace. Two surprise attacks by the enemy were repulsed east of Soissons and near Besanvaux, southwest of Malancourt Wood and east of Pouilly. On the heights of the Meuse, the French made successful raids on Thursday night, bringing back 20 prisoners. Bad weather in general is along this front. It was a quiet day on the Belgian front. Hold on, let me get some water. On the Tigris near Saint-Ayat, the British have resumed the offensive. Oh my gosh, see how fast this falls. The capture of 2 lines of trenches is officially reported. These lines were stormed on Saturday last, but the British were unable to consolidate their new positions under the fierce counterattacks of the Turks and were forced to withdraw. After the infantry had withdrawn, the British guns commenced a vigorous bombardment of this strongly entrenched position, continuing the artillery fire daily until Thursday last, when the British troops again succeeded in penetrating the enemy's trenches and occupying 2 lines at the south end of the Turkish position. These were consolidated, and the fight now continues for possession of the remaining positions. The operations have hindered by a sudden rise of the Tigris to flood level owing to heavy rain, making it difficult to get up supplies to our men. Floods on the Tigris prevented the relief of Townshend's army last year. In April last, Sir Percy Lake, pardon the pun, encountered much the same difficulties that now confront General Maude. Owing to the floods and the marshy soil, the British troops, after capturing positions in flooded areas, were unable to hold their ground against the murderous machine gun fire of the Turks. Of course, their machine gun fire is murderous. British isn't. For the same reason, reinforcements. How anybody listens to my the After Hours show is beyond me. This is just ridiculous. For the same reason, reinforcements were unable to lend support. Saint-Ayat may prove a hard nut to crack if the floods continue. The French transport Athos carrying Senegalese troops, and remember, just because they say Senegalese, we found out that a few weeks ago that the French were just using any Western African colonial troop. They just called them Senegalese. So they could have been from Côte d'Ivoire or whatever. I don't know if it was called that back then. Was torpedoed and sunk in the Mediterranean. The transport was conveyed by 2 French torpedo boat destroyers, but the submarine apparently eluded these. Of the black colonial troops on board the Athos, 1,450 were saved. North and south of the Ancre, the British troops have advanced their positions. The heavy pressure on the... Oh, this is a long war summary too. I should shut up. Just realized there's so much text in this one. Last week, I got away with murder. The heavy pressure on the enemy's lines forcing the Germans to withdraw. On the Tigris, General Maude has scored notable successes at the Shumran Bend and at Saint-Ayat. South of the Ancre, the British improved their position by occupying the village of Petit-Mérimont. North of this village, the Ancre crosses the Albert-Arras Railway and winds its way eastward across the Flers-Papon Road. On Thursday night last, the British pushed forward south of Petit-Mérimont on a mile front and occupied an enemy post. As a result of persistent pressure in this sector, the enemy has been forced to withdraw. North of the Ancre, south and southeast of Serres, the British advanced their line on a front of over a mile and a half. West of Lens, the Germans rushed a British post but were promptly ejected in a counterattack. A heavy bombardment by the guns took place on both banks of the Somme, southwest of Arras and south of Ypres. Reuters correspondent at British headquarters attributes the British advance in the Ancre Valley to the shortening of the German lines, the enemy falling back about 3 miles. Hello, Siegfried Line. East of Verstraat in Belgium, British troops rushed enemy trenches, inflicting heavy losses on the Germans secreted in the dugouts and other works. 45 prisoners were taken in this sector. Success attended British doggedness on the Tigris in the Kut El Amara zone. On Thursday and Friday last, the official report recounts the capture of Saniyat of 2 more lines of Turkish trenches, the British achieving their objective in this sector and consolidating all their gains. It was actually quite a brilliant little thing from what I've been reading and hearing about. There was a simultaneous attack on two areas, and yeah, it suckered the Turkish forces in, pinned their reserves in, and he was able to go off. They also had, like, come on, like what, 6 times the amount of troops that the Turkish had, for goodness sakes. Like, come on. The southern portion of the enemy's position mentioned in Saturday's reports was carried on Thursday morning after fierce fighting. 6 counterattacks were launched in rapid succession by the Turks, but the British held on. I will say this. Later on, we're going to hear it. The British do, or this guy gives the Turkish forces credit for them being damn good troops. So it was nice to hear or read. In the afternoon of the same day, the northern Turkish lines also were carried. Here also the Turkish fought bravely to the end, holding up the British at times by the fierceness of their onslaught. At the end of the day, the first 2 lines of trenches along a front of 900 yards were manned and held by British troops. At the Shumran Bend, to which General Maude advanced after clearing the Dara Bend of the enemy, the Tigris was crossed by advanced British parties. This is part of that thing. While the Turks were busily engaged at Saniyat. The crossing in ferries took place on Friday before dawn. On the British surprising the enemy on the left bank and capturing many prisoners. In 9 hours, a bridge spanned the Tigris, and by night the British had dug themselves in and consolidated their position. The British artillery and machine guns covered the infantry advance so effectively that the stubborn position made to the landing by the Turkish forces in the Shumran Peninsula proved a failure. The 3rd and 4th Turkish lines along a front of 1,050 yards fell into the hands of General Maude's troops. Over 500 prisoners were captured. Vessels sunk during the weekend include 3 Dutch, 3 Norwegian, and 5 British. The total losses amount to 28,000 tons, of which the British loss is 9,000 tons. Sorry, I saw that. So I'm like, I just kept seeing and. I'm like, what's going on? 7 Dutch steamers aggregating 33,000 tons were torpedoed by a German submarine after they sailed from Falmouth on Thursday last. 4 of the vessels remained afloat as these ships sailed from the English port under instructions from the Dutch government and after assurances for their safety had been given by Berlin. The loss of 3 large ships having stirred the phlegmatic Hollander to the highest pitch of resentment. But what can Holland do? A protest and the reservation of claims against the German government are all that may be attempted unless Holland is prepared to make tremendous sacrifices. With a German princeling as the Queen's consort and a border trade of considerable value with her German neighbor, it is more than likely that Holland will be satisfied with a formal protest. The attack was made on Friday by submarine U-3, which torpedoed 3 outright. German sailors went aboard the remaining vessels and placed bombs in position. One of the ships has reached a British port in safety, and it is reported that the 3 others are limping back to port. A regrettable coincidence of circumstances is how the German legation at The Hague seeks to explain away the sinking of the 3 Dutch steamers. Was the submarine lying in wait for an expected British convoy? And I like that they used the word convoy, not the way we know of convoy that's going to be used in a little bit, but still, it was neat to see. The Scandinavian protests. This freaked me right out. I had no idea that Sweden had part of Finland before. I was like, what? It's all this new stuff to me, man. It's freaky. I love it. The Scandinavian protests against Germany's violation of international codes show no sign of abatement. In the Swedish parliament, the Minister for Foreign Affairs significantly declared that the events of the past few days make it necessary for Sweden to take sterner measures to safeguard neutrality. Sweden's position is somewhat different from that of Norway and Denmark and cannot be divorced from her past relations to Russia. The loss of Finland is still keenly felt. I was like, what? Oh, wow. It has colored the sentiment of Sweden in this war. but the little nations are thoroughly alarmed. The need of protection against Germany is forcing them once more to consider the advantages of a Scandinavian union. My God, am I naive to history? It's amazing. On the Austro-Italian front, the Austrians continue their offensive. Political considerations compel the dual monarchy to maintain pressure on the Italians and to concentrate on the campaign in this region. The artillery was very active on the various fronts, and several attacks on Italian positions were repulsed, according to a Rome dispatch. Oh my God, I'm only halfway through. Jeez. The British advance in the Ancre region during the weekend was 2 miles over a front of 11 miles, according to the official report from Sir Douglas Haig. The greatest retreat since the Battle of the Marne is the description by the Associated Press correspondent at British headquarters of the German retirement. The evacuation of Bapaume and a retirement to the Arras-Cambrai line are the next moves expected. The British line now runs through Serres, Miramont, Pisse, Valencourt village, and a strong position known as Valencourt Wood. The advance extends from a point east of Guidecourt to a point south of Gumecourt. The British advance trenches now threaten Le Berc, which lies between Guidecourt and Valencourt on the Martin-Puy-Bapaume road. From Serres and Miramont, the British lines are pushing towards Puiseux, while from the new positions at Pisse and Valencourt, British advance should soon settle from the fate of the railway. Holy Moses, that was a monstrous for me. And it's still got some more to go. The railway north of the Îles-Bapaume road, the capture of Valencourt Wood, and the immediate approaches to Bapaume must lead soon to a further German retirement unless bad weather intervenes. The fall of Kut-el-Amara has followed rapidly on the heels of the British successes of last week, cutting off the Turkish forces on the lower reaches of the Tigris by throwing a body of troops across the river at the Shumran Bend. The British rendered the town untenable. The Turkish garrison, seeing the game was up, bolted across the plain west of the town in the direction of Bagala, closely pursued by British cavalry. Probably not how you say it, or Vinus Wargaming would know, guaranteed. Over 1,700 prisoners and a great amount of munitions have fallen into the hands of the British. The capture of the Turkish positions along the river from Saniyat to Kut-el-Amara led automatically, in the words of Mr. Bonar Law, to the occupation of the town by General Maud's troops. No report has yet been received of the number of Turks killed in the recent fighting, but it must be very heavy. The Turk, another one, yes, nice. The Turk is a determined fighter and not given to surrendering. Nice one. The previous occupation of Kut-el-Amara took place in September 1915, when the town was abandoned to General Nixon after his troops had crossed the river and turned the Turkish positions on the Tigris front. On that occasion, the town was deserted when the British troops entered, the garrison and inhabitants fleeing up the river in the direction of Baghdad, the city of the good Harun al-Rashid, which figures so prominently in the Arabian Nights entertainment. The ancient city, with its towering mosques, lies on both sides of the Tigris. The country surrounding it is a desert plain, with scarcely a tree or a village in sight. At Baghdad, the Tigris and Euphrates approach within 25 miles of each other. The advance on Baghdad will now be pressed forward with better prospects of success than in the 1915-16 campaign. North of Baghdad, the Russians, under the Grand Duke, are pushing forward to effect a junction with the British troops. The Russians are operating in the Armenian and Kurdistan regions, one column hugging the valley of the Tigris, on its downward course from Lake Van. The fall of Baghdad will do more than anything else to convince the Islamic believers of Asia Minor that the Ottoman government no longer is able to withstand the pressure of British military power. The retreat and surrender of Townshend's army did much to lower the British prestige throughout Asia Minor. Oh, slightly. On November 22nd, 1915, General Townshend advanced within 18 miles of Baghdad and defeated the Turks in open battle at Ctesiphon, 2 months after the British occupation of Kut-el-Amara. The excessive heat and lack of water supplies forced Townsend to abandon the advance on Baghdad. It's going to say many people were, I don't know if it was him though, maybe he was, I think, actually reluctant. Somebody was pushing the metal, putting the foot to the ground. They just should have just stayed there and just consolidated their area near the oil wells, for goodness sakes. Excessive heat and lack of water supplies forced Townsend to abandon the advance on Baghdad. He retired in good order along the Tigris, reaching Kut El Amara 9 days later. Here he was besieged, the retiring force under General Elmer making heroic efforts to reach the beleaguered garrison. Floods and heavy Turkish reinforcements held up the advance. The Turkish positions at Saniyat proved an insuperable barrier. After 5 months siege, Townsend surrendered through the lack of food supplies. And we also found out, on a side note, they were supplementing their diet for a little while from the licorice factory. But not much nutrition, I found out, in licorice. Of the army of 9,000 taken by the Turks, and thank you, Tolemykus, for that, taken by the Turks, nearly 3,000 were British and 6,000 Indian troops. And the Indian troops were treated a hell of a lot nicer than the British ones, let me tell you. That reverse is likely to still further avenged when the advance on Baghdad begins. This campaign should seal the doom of the Turkish Empire and bring hope to the long-suffering Armenians and other races who have been under the Harro of Ottoman rule. I'm pretty damn sure if you look at the deaths of POWs from there, I guarantee is a much higher percent British than Indian. I'm going to go with that one. I'll put my money on that. In shortening their line of defense on the Western Front, the Germans, it is true, economized in manpower. But their withdrawal also increases the reserves of the Allies. Although shortened considerably by Allied advances, the line of battle on the Western Front still swings between the Belgian coast and the Swiss frontier. The extreme Allied left extends to the Great Ditch on the North Sea, the vast underground world of trenches that extend irregularly from the North Sea to the Swiss border begin as the end, abruptly. To emerge at Peterhausen, the German customs barrier, is a big surprise for the visitor. For here, a simple wire fence with a few pieces of red and white canvas tied to it warns the belligerents that no fighting must take place on Swiss soil. Hold on. Where am I here? A single Swiss sentry paces to and fro across the boundary, the only sign of war. 500 yards away in the deep recesses of a wood, the serpentine French trenches begin. The little village of Peterhausen, about a mile or so across the German border in Alsace, is shelled out of recognition. Woof. Outpost fighting continues as the enemy rear guards fall back along the line of the German retirement in the Ancre region. Strong British patrols are pushing along the roads from the newly acquired positions, the enemy retiring under the protection of his heavy guns. The British line continues to press forward from a point south of Goumecourt through Ile Varlancourt onto Le Transvois. On the Peronne-Bapaume road, the pivot of the German swing backward. On the move and dependent on the mobility of his heavy guns, the situation is not without grave risks for the retiring foe. My voice. The British line at Serre has been pushed northeast. It's my throat, actually. The little villages captured by the British are heaps of ruins. Yeah, they've just been wiping everything out. Remember that the little passage there from Storm of Steel there from Ernst Younger, and he was saying it was like a scene from hell or something, watching people walking by like with one troop with a dress on that they got from a thing, and the other, just trashing the town and fires everywhere. Loss of the Cunarder Laconia, torpedoed off the Irish coast, makes one of the biggest prizes that has fallen to the Germans since the new submarine warfare was announced. 38 people are missing. The passengers numbered 100, of whom 26 were American citizens and 3 from Toronto. 6 died, or American? Quite a little, 4, something like that. But we're going to find out about it soon enough. According to Cunard report, only 1 casualty so far has been reported, but this is believed to be incorrect. The Laconia is a liner of 18,000 tons and sailed from New York on February 18th. The Celtic which was torpedoed a few days ago, is limping back to port under her own steam. The British advance continues on the Western Front. North and south of the Ancre and south of Lens, progress is reported. North of Guidecourt on the Flers-Bapaume road, the British have occupied the village of Ligny. Le Bac also was occupied. Closing in from Valencourt and Ligny, the British should soon be in possession of Bapaume, from which it is reported the Germans have withdrawn their guns and stores. The village of Thiloy is the last outpost of Bapaume. The German official report refers to events on this front as temporary lively fighting. Interesting. Rearguard actions all along the line of the German retreat led to stiff fighting at several points. German preparations for the withdrawal had been carefully made, and the rear guards were considerably strengthened in order to delay the British advance. The opinion at British headquarters is that the Germans will continue the retirement until they reach the new line, specially prepared between Arras and Cambrai. And wait till you guys see it. From south of Gomecourt to La Transois, the British forward sweep continues. Prisoners taken describe the German retreat as far from pleasant, owing to the continuous bombardment of the roads by the British guns. Gomecourt and Paizou are tottering, and many fall into British hands at any moment. North of Miremont, the British are pressing on the high road between Achille-le-Petit and Bapaume, where the Germans are preparing to make a stand. Before retiring, the Germans destroyed all their dugouts and shelters, including the strongly fortified positions in Bapaume. The British advance is made through a maze of wire entanglements, which the enemy had spent long months in perfecting. Now, couldn't these types of part of the war be like the retreat to the Siegfried Line and the British and French advancing? Could this not be, and all this rear guard action, could this not be modeled with soldiers? I know it's supposed to be only 1914-15, but what's wrong with this? This is like, sounds like this could be done by it. Austro-American relations have reached the breaking point. Arrangements have been completed for the withdrawal from Austria-Hungary of American diplomatic and consular officers. The feeling in Washington is that Germany is forcing her ally to stand by the submarine campaign. On the Russian front, the opinion of military experts is that no great movement will take place this year. In any case, the condition of the ground precludes the active artillery operation sooner than May. It is scarcely likely that Germany or the Allies will wait so long before seeking to obtain the great decision. It is reported the Germans have thinned their lines on the Romanian front, transferring large numbers of troops to the Western theater of war. Dominated by political considerations in the previous years of war, Germany no longer can hope to escape the inevitable trend of military events that compel her to look to the West as the final and decisive battlefield. Wow. But beyond outpost and patrol engagements, nothing of importance has taken place along the Eastern Front. The victory at Kut Alamara increases in importance as later dispatches arrive. The Turkish prisoners captured now run into thousands, and while further large stores of equipment and munitions have fallen into British hands. Following the fall of Kut Alamara, the scene of operations has been transferred farther up the Tigris, where the British are reported as successful in various engagements with the retreating foe. Lord Curzon stated in the House of Lords yesterday that fighting was taking place at a point northwest of Kut Alamara. According to General Maud's dispatch, some of the retreating Turks followed the course of the river in the direction of Baghdad and were pursued by gunboats, cavalry, and infantry. Geez, you're just missing some planes. You got everything. The Turks made several attempts to hold their ground by rearguard actions about 15 miles northwest of Kut Alamara. That'd be like a John Candy Great War versions. Gunboats, cavalry, airplanes, and infantry. Anyways, in their fight from Kut, the enemy endeavored to tow their pontoon bridges upriver to Bagala. From all accounts, it appears that the back of the Turkish opposition in this region has been broken. The strength of the Turkish forces at Baghdad is not known. After the British withdrawal from Gallipoli, the Turkish garrisons along the Tigris, including Baghdad, were strongly reinforced. It is not known whether any considerable force from Baghdad came to the aid of Kut al-Amara. In any case, General Mahd seems to be making a clean sweep of the Turks in this region. With cavalry and gunboats on his trail, the enemy will get little rest. The sinking of the Laconia has aroused the American people to the highest pitch of resentment, kind of like Holland, I guess. But these guys got some punch. In official circles at Washington, it is freely stated that the overt act for which President Wilson was waiting has now taken place, involving a complete rupture with Germany. Of the victims who died as a result of the sinking of the liner, 2 were American women who died of exposure in open boats and were buried at sea. The imminence of war had a weakening effect on the New York market. At Washington, the House adjourned without coming to a decision regarding the submarine crisis. Hold on, water. The utterances of the German Chancellor do not lend much hope of a settlement. Germany shows no disposition to yield a jot in her unlimited U-boat warfare. Well, they can't, man. It's too late now, man. The German naval raid on the English coast, reported yesterday, becomes a victory in the hands of the Berlin official staff. Like the false report of the Battle of Jutland, the enterprise of German destroyers in reaching the English coast and retiring as quickly in the fog assumes the importance of a naval engagement in which the British boats beat a retreat. These false reports intended for home consumption no longer mislead neutral countries. Oh my God. Vessels sunk yesterday numbered 5 with a total of about 11,000 tons. One large French boat of nearly 4,000 tons was among the victims. Britain's food problem is engaging the serious attention of the Director General of Food Production, Sir Arthur Lee, who is ordering 2,000 American tractor plows to be operated by an army of night plowers. Night plowers, oh my God. Sorry, my mind's going somewhere else. Thousands of civilians will be organized for the cultivation of every available acre of arable land. The shortage of, it's still there too. The shortage of in labor is to be met by the introduction of tractor plows. It is intended to operate the plows continuously with day and night shifts. Another British advance was made yesterday on the Western Front. On the Tigris, 30 miles up the river from Kut el-Amara, British flying column has overtaken the retreating finally, so we did get the planes. Has overtaken the retreating Turks and is attacking the enemy on 3 sides. The famous Gumakor salient, if it's pronounced that way, so it's not so famous for me. The scene of fierce fighting since the opening days of the Battle of the Somme resounded yesterday to British cries of victory. The village of Gumakor was occupied by the British, who pushed on for more than a half mile to the northeast of the village toward the high ridge overlooking Le Essar. Northeast of Serre, you know what? We're going to pause just for a second, see if this works. Supposedly it's Gomcourt, something like that. So there, I'm going with it. Northeast of Serre, the Gomcourt salient is still further blunted by the occupation of Puiseux and the adjoining enemy trenches. Yeah, I went off to a little pronunciation thingamajig. In the Bapaume sector, on the outskirts of the town, British troops entered the village of Thiloy. The evacuation of Bapaume now seems imminent. At Le Translois, the pivot of the German backward swing, the British are thrusting vigorously. Southeast of Le Translois, on the ridge northeast of Sailly-Salicelle, the General Haig's troops attacked the enemy's positions at dawn and brought back 85 prisoners and a machine gun. British pressure in this sector is creating a dangerous salient in the enemy's line. Near Cléry, north of the Somme, the British penetrated the German second-line trenches, taking some prisoners. Cléry is an important strategical point on the former French front and is connected by a light railway with Péronne. Northeast of Arras and west of Lens, bombing parties, that's right, because the British are taking more of the French line now. They better, due to the fact that their lines get bigger, due to the fact that the Siegfried lines, the German, as we know, destroyed the enemy dugouts. Northeast of Armentières, a German raiding party was driven back. The advance up the Tigris, oh my God, on the last page. The Tigris continues 30 miles northeast of Kut Alamara. And actually, my voice is a little better. I just think I needed that little pause to go off and look for the pronunciation thing. Between Bageli and Hamidi, the Turks are fighting a rearguard action. They are hemmed in on 3 sides on the left bank of the river by a British advanced force and may be compelled to surrender. I've got to find out more about this whole rearguard thing. Maybe we should do like a little segment on a show. Yeah, you guys would know so much more about this stuff. Just sounds so Napoleonic to me. Anyways, they're hemmed in on 3 sides on the left bank of the river by a British advanced force and may be compelled to surrender. The flying column that followed in pursuit of the Turks after the fall of Kut Alamara is no doubt largely composed of Indian cavalry, a mobile force especially adapted for warfare in this region. A gunboat abandoned during Townsend's retreat from Ctesiphon in November 1915 has been recaptured. The losses on both sides, judging by previous engagements, will be heavy. A considerable number of prisoners and a large quantity of stores have been taken. The strategic value of Baghdad, from which the British advance force is 50 miles distant, is beyond question. Apart from the prestige that attaches to the occupation of the city, its strategic importance is due to the fact that it is on the high road to Persia and to avert the overthrow of the Turk in Mesopotamia, to the head of the Persian Gulf. Germany will make every effort to avert the overthrow of the Turk in Mesopotamia. Through Baghdad, Germany stirred up the insurrectionary movement in Persia and armed the insurrectionists. But for the prompt action of Russia at the time, the young Shah might have declared in favor of the Central Powers in this war. Interesting. By occupying Hamadan, the Russians nipped the revolt in the bud. The Russians from the north and the British from the south are now closing in on Baghdad, the last stronghold of the Turkish sectarian influence among the Arab tribes that have flocked to the Ottoman standard. That'd be another engagement question. I like that. The British advance at Gunkur recalls the fact that the German wedge in the British line in this sector was the pivot of the British upward swing on July 1st last, when the Great Offensive began, that aimed at the capture of the irregular ridge that runs between Thiepval and Longval. Till the summer of 1916, the Picardy front showed little signs of activity. It was in September 1915. The British took over the line from Arras to the Somme, settling down to a purely defensive campaign, while Kitchener was raising and training a new army, and Lloyd George was organizing the manufacture of munitions of war. Oh, this is nice. A nice little recent history lesson, a recap. While Verdun was testing the mettle of the French, the British sat tight and bided their time. Oh, sorry. That's a bit of a premonition thing. Then followed the fatal Austrian campaign in the Trentino and the Russian drive in the east. Hindenburg weakened the Western Front to save Austria in the Trentino and on the east. It was at this fateful moment that France and Britain made ready for the supreme effort and swept the Germans out of fortified positions which they regarded as impregnable. Now opens another phase with which Germany falling back to new lines and abandoning positions which she had spent weary months in fortifying. In June last, a retirement from the Somme to the Meuse was seriously considered by the German War Council. But once again, political considerations prevailed. A withdrawal to the Meuse would have undermined the confidence of the German people, buoyed up by false reports. They decided to hold on. Events will soon show whether Germany has held on too long. And I think right now, too, the morale of the German troops are like, are you kidding me? What the hell are we doing? We're falling back. This sucks. German view in London, according to Mr. Stuart Lyon, the Canadian press representative now on the way to the front, is that the German retirement is dictated by military necessity. Go talk to Ludendorff. British guns now control the enemy's railway communications, while the possession of important roads in the Gunkur salient also strikes a blow at the enemy's lines of supply. Another view is that Germany is seeking to forestall the big British attack and to avoid disaster. The sudden retirement of the enemy, while the British have everything in readiness for an offensive on a big scale, will delay the British attack in force owing to the difficulty of bringing up heavy guns and supplies. Yep. British losses for February averaged less than 700 a day in killed, wounded, and missing. Sorry, that's still mind-boggling. That's just one little, they're just one little chunk. The total for the month is slightly over 18,000. This establishes a new record. Wow. The previous record being a total of over 32,000 for the month of January. You guys must be so proud. A distressing feature of the casualties is the high proportion of officers. Since July 1st last, when the Battle of the Somme began, the total British casualties on sea and land amount to more than 500,000 men. No comparison can be made between the casualties during the last summer and the winter months, when operations were on a minor scale. At the same time, the efficiency of the Allies is nowhere near more significantly revealed than in the wonderful coordination between artillery and infantry, to which is due, in large measure, the decreasing percentage in casualties. And is this it? I think it is. Nope. The submarine blockade does not prevent British sailings. The arrivals and sailings of all nationalities at and from British ports, including all craft of 100 tons and over, and exclusive of fishing and local vessels, amounted to 2,280 arrivals and 2,261 sailings. No reports have been received of any shipping losses yesterday owing to enemy submarines. On the remaining fronts, this is it. The only incident of note was in the Carpathians, where the Germans claim to have captured over 1,300 Russian prisoners. The Russians claim to have repulsed the Germans in the Yakubny-Kipalung sector and recaptured positions taken earlier in the day. I'm sorry, guys. I know I editorialize like the Dickens. I've got to try to curtail it a little bit. At least it's in the after hours. But anyways, I'll shush. Hope you guys have a great weekend, remainder of your weekend, and a great weekend. And hope to see you for live stream 110. All right. See you later.